Wow. All right. So, wow, let's get into it. Because it's official, ladies and gentlemen. The Congresswoman out of Texas, Jasmine Crockett, has seen her political career come to an end, a dead end, after the crushing defeat to her Democrat opponent, Tal Rico. And of course, in true Jasmine Crockett fashion, she somehow found a way in a primary race, ladies and gentlemen, Democrat versus Democrat. She found a way to blame Republicans. I mean, give me a break. And so we're going to break it all down. As always, if you enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know and to stay locked in with future videos. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn those notification bells on just in case YouTube act a little freaky and don't let you know when I drop. But let's get right into it.
To cast their vote, we should all be standing together. Democrats, Republicans, and we should all be raising hell. But unfortunately, this was always the plan. And so I am grateful for this court order. And as Congressman Allred has already stated, we encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it. So I am asking you, I am begging you to make sure that you go ahead and figure out where it is that you are supposed to vote, stand in line, wait in line, and if it means that I got to come out there with you to wait with you, I will do that.
Millions of Americans hitting the polls yesterday for a handful of pivotal primaries last night, including key races in North Carolina, Arkansas, and Texas.
Meantime, Doug Lazader joins us live from Washington with the results. Doug.
Hey, good morning, guys. A lot of races to talk about. So let's start with that Texas Senate race that attracted so much attention and money. On the Democratic side, Tal Rico defeated Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in that hotly contested primary.
Now, listen, this race definitely had its share of drama. There was confusion among some voters about where they were actually supposed to cast their ballots. And almost immediately, Jasmine Crockett started pointing fingers. And according to Crockett, the problem was, according to her, cheating. And somehow Republicans were responsible. Which is interesting because this was a Democrat primary. Once again, Democrat versus Democrat. And what really stands out is how quickly she defaulted to blaming Republicans. We just saw the same playbook not long ago. If you guys recall, she tried to pin the whole Steven Colar situation on Republicans as well. The irony here is that the real political maneuvering in this race didn't come from the GOP at all. It came from within inside her own party. Democrats were the ones making moves behind the scenes, clearly trying their best to sideline her with the way they positioned Tal Rico and the whole spectacle that unfolded around the Colbert situation. Check it out.
By the whole thing with Steven Colar. That was a big rocket for him. He had to be a real news nerd to know who he was before then. But that moment where, suddenly, Steven Colar, who's obviously a legend among Democrats, says, hey, this kid, Trump and these guys don't want to hear from. I'm going to let you hear from him now. That's when he really, he got $2.5 million, I think, the next day. And it put him on the map. You could see it kind of irritated Jasmine Crockett a little bit that he was getting all this attention. Because up until then, she was very far ahead. If, in fact, he closes, probably that's the day that started.
Yeah, I definitely think it was true. Like you said, we obviously knew Tal Rico. We were covering him, looking at, the kind of personality he was, but it was completely different after that.
Pay for that level.
You can't, which is ironic because it was Jasmine Crockett who before was getting all the sort of, earned media online.
Scott, you look skeptical.
Well, let's just admit, it was an op, right? Trump had nothing to do with it. It was CBS's lawyers that had raised internal issues about it. It was a total sort of a hoax about how they positioned it. But I tend to agree.
Details.
I know. I'm glad that's what you think. But I tend to agree.
Yeah, and honestly, that's probably where her frustration should really be directed, at her own party. Because when you look at how this played out, it feels a lot more like Democrats pushing her out than anything else. Really think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Here you have this strong black woman in the Democrat Party with all the social media push, all the I tell it how it is, I'm a real one attitude. And she couldn't even secure an endorsement from someone like Barack Obama. Biggest name she could point to were people like Cardi B and Kamala. And so I think that tells you something about where the party leadership really stood when it came to her in this race. But let's actually get into what happened here, because I want to jump into the next clip explaining the voting precinct situation. After that, we'll take a look at Jasmine Crockett's response. Check it out.
I'm going to go right now to Evan Smith, who's the host of Overheard with Evan Smith on Austin PBS. He's a veteran observer of Texas politics. He's got 30 years experience doing that. And Evan, I'd like you to explain to us again what had happened earlier today in Dallas County, why things have been chaotic there, and now this new reporting about a judge's order about the extension of voting there.
Right. So as we talked about earlier, Rachel, the Republican party in Dallas County decided they did not want to have countywide elections. They wanted to make people go to their assigned polling place locally. And if the Republicans say you can't have countywide, then the Democrats can't have countywide. So Democratic voters showed up thinking they were going to be able to vote at the places around the county they had voted, and they were turned away. And there was a big push to try to extend voting in Dallas County as a result of that, to give those people an opportunity to vote after all. A Dallas judge ordered the polls open until 9. Well, Attorney General Ken Paxton asked the Texas Supreme Court within the last couple of hours to overturn the Dallas judge's ruling. And according to reporting from my former colleague Eleanor Klibanoff at the Texas Tribune, the Texas Supreme Court has just temporarily blocked that judge's order to keep the polls open until 9, ordering the county to separate out the votes from people who were not in line at 7 o'clock. This throws a monkey wrench into the vote count in Dallas County. Whether those votes are going to count or not, we have no idea what's going to happen. It's a temporary ruling, but goodness, this is a mess, Rachel. It was already a mess. It's more of a mess now.
This is a pause of the vote extension in Dallas County. Are people being stopped from voting right now?
What I know is that the county is being told you have to take the votes that were cast in the last 2 hours. It's coming up upon that 9 o'clock hour central here in Texas right now. You have to take the votes that were cast by people who are not in line at 7 o'clock, push them to the side, and the fate and the status of those votes is now unknown. And of course, if you're Jasmine Crockett, you're thinking this is terrible for you, because this is the county where you're going to hopefully roar back into contention in this race.
And this is as you said, it was a Dallas judge who ordered the extension of voting in Dallas County. And then it was U.S. Senate candidate and sitting Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who asked for an individual state Supreme Court judge to weigh in and essentially overturn that other judge's ruling?
Asked the Supreme Court of Texas if they would come in and temporarily block that Dallas judge's order, and the Supreme Court came back and said, yes, we temporarily block it.
Yeah, so you heard that. And so there's been a lot of speculation about why the change was made this year, but this is the key point that you need to know. Both parties have to agree to use countywide vote centers in Texas. And when Republicans in Dallas County said no to the system, Democrats couldn't offer it either. That's just how it works. And despite all of the noise around it, many Republican voters in polling locations didn't seem to have much to complain about regarding the change. What's interesting, though, is that the extended voting hours ended up applying only to the Democrat voting locations. Even with all of that, Jasmine Crockett still managed to find a way to blame Republicans once it became clear she probably wasn't going to win this race, which is kind of ironic when you think about it, because if anything, Republicans might have preferred Crockett to win. She's so far left that in a statewide race, she would likely be an easier opponent. Now, to be clear, James Tal Rico isn't exactly some moderate either. Matter of fact, before we get into what Crockett had to say, here are some of the comments from James Tal Rico himself. Check it out.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
Yeah, so you heard that. And Crockett was seen as more radical than that guy. But you kind of got to give it to Crockett for her commitment to the act that she puts on. Even after losing, she blamed Republicans by claiming they rigged her election, even though she was running against another Democrat.
I mean, if the early vote comes in, which we may have the early vote soon, if it comes in and I'm losing Dallas County, then we know kind of where this thing is going. So so that's my news. is that we're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County. Unfortunately, this is what Republicans like to do. And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why.
I mean, give me a break. This is a major blow because Jasmine Crockett's political career seems to be coming to a dead end. And if she's being honest with herself, she really only has herself to blame. After Texas redistricting, instead of staying put and defending her seat, which she probably had a better chance of in the House, she decided to swing for the fences and go after the state Senate seat. And Democrats haven't won it in Texas in roughly 30 years. But she believes somehow that she had the popularity and the momentum to pull it off and could be the one to change that. But she couldn't even make it out of her own primary. And so now it looks like that gamble completely backfired and her political future is very much game over. But let's go to Fox News, where they reminded everyone exactly who Jasmine Crockett is.
Jasmine Crockett, though, you tell me, but she's certainly seen as a rising star in her party. She's been seen as a powerful communicator with the Democrat message. She has had, though, some out-of-pocket comments, we'll put it that way. Here's some of them. Listen.
Somebody slap me and wake me the up, because I'm ready to get on with it.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
When I see ICE, I see slave patrols. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Yeah, all I can say is I think we'll all sleep a little better at night knowing Jasmine Crockett isn't going around educating people, at least not as a state representative. But those are my thoughts in the update. Now let me hear from you. Drop your comments down below. As always, smash that thumbs up button if you enjoy the content. That's the best way to let me know. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel to stay locked in with future videos. And as always, until next time.